Morgan County Commissioners, and Kenny Costin is the mayor for the city of Martinsville. Chip Keller is a city council member for Martinsville. Jim Parker is the owner of New Genesis out of Mooresville, and he was the board president for the Indiana Recycling Coalition for about 14 years. He was really instrumental in helping get electronics recycling going in Indiana, and so he's been a tremendous help and resource for us in understanding the recycling side. Brian Monch is one of our core team members. He owns Monch Engineering out of Plainfield, and he has been a great help on the side of the recycling as well. They develop and build recycling facilities all across the country. And Alicia Foudy is a former board member for the Morgan County Humane Society, and she helped establish the TNR program here in Morgan County. So with this group of individuals, everybody has played an integral role in helping us to kind of formulate this and move this forward. And we're excited to share with you now this project that we've been working on. It's a large project. There are 2 phases to the project. The first phase is to establish a green energy eco park near Martinsville in Morgan County. And the second phase is to establish a recycling facility on one of the available lots within that eco park that will act as an anchor business to help draw in other business around the state and county to our area. So one of the ways that we will help do this is by implementing green energy technologies. And as a nonprofit, we are able to qualify for grant funding that for-profits are not usually able to qualify for, and we'll be able to help partner with some of the companies that we would like to invite into the eco park so that we can help them incorporate and utilize green energy technologies like solar panels, wind turbines, not the large ones, and geothermal units and other green emerging technologies. We've also partnered, and we are partnering with Tesla to incorporate some of Tesla's energy systems into the park as well. And we'd also like to partner with the Battery Innovation Center and Energy Systems Network out of there in Greene County. The Battery Innovation Center is near Crane. And we'd also like to utilize some of Tesla's, not only their charging abilities, but their generators that hold and store green energy technology as well. So phase 1 again is an eco park, and we would like to locate this near Martinsville within Morgan County, and we wanted to make it visible with access to I-69. And we've also been working with the IEDC, with the state of Indiana, in order to understand exactly what it will take to create shovel-ready sites for businesses to locate within this park. So the park itself, the eco park itself, will have walking paths, hiking trails, nature preserve areas, as well as lots available for businesses to locate, and recreation areas for kids. It's really a place for everybody. We'd like it to be a place for everybody and commingle those elements together. So this is a map, just a general view of where we're looking. This is Martinsville up here. I don't know if you guys can see the cursor on the screen. And this is the Liberty interchange down here. And this is where we have entered into agreements to purchase a large portion of land in this area. This is an overview of that Liberty interchange with the land that we have entered into the agreements to purchase. And the next slide shows you the highlighted lots. This represents about 114 acres total. And this is a real quick snapshot of a potential, just a potential at this point, availability of lots that we would have for sale for businesses to locate. It would be about half for businesses and half would be kept natural land with the hiking trails and paths and play areas. So the next thing I'll introduce, and you might be familiar with this. A couple of years ago, Governor Holcomb put into place 156 opportunity zones located around the state of Indiana. An opportunity zone is an area in a developable location with access to interstate highways, good access to interstates, and they created these opportunity zones in order to direct financing for development purposes into these areas. So this screen shows basically a plot map of the Martinsville, Morgan County opportunity zone in our area. And the yellow highlighted circle represents the land that we're acquiring for this project. So the second phase of this project is to locate a recycling facility on one of the available lots within the Eco Park. In January 2019, a really good article came out that discussed how Indiana's economy isn't currently utilizing recycling to the best of its ability. And this got us thinking about a recycling facility here in Morgan County. And that article really discussed pitfalls or things that the recycling community face currently. One of the things that they face are outdated technologies utilized in recycling facilities, which makes it difficult to adequately sort materials that come into those facilities. So our facility would be considered a MRF, a material reprocessing facility, and we would take in plastic, glass, aluminum cans, and paper products from the general waste stream. Right now, Morgan County doesn't have a landfill, and so we send all of our solid waste to the surrounding counties for disposal in their landfills. Our recycling facility will pull between 15 to 30,000 pounds, tons of material out of the waste stream every year that's shipped for landfill, bound for landfills in our surrounding counties. And one of the ways that in this article mentions that using incentives or incentivizing recycling can help achieve the two goals that we have for increasing the quantity of recycled materials that we process in our county, as well as the quality of materials that we get in. And what they talked about, which was really interesting, they went through, Richmond, Indiana has a plastics reprocessing plant. They buy large 1,000-pound bales of plastic for resale. They make pellets out of those, and then for resale to the Coke or Pepsi bottling plants to make recycled bottles. And one of the things that they did in this article was they did a walkthrough of this organization. And while they walked through this organization, the owner of that facility said, if you look at that 1,000-pound bale, he said, we bought that sight unseen. He said, and it contains glass and metal and paper, so we're not going to be able to use that and process that through our facility. It would damage our equipment and machines, so that whole 1,000-pound bale will have to go to the landfill. And then he kept walking a little further through his plant, and he said, but you see here, he said, and he looked and it showed a picture of a 1,000-pound bale of plastic that was all green bottles. And he said, that must come from Iowa because they drink an awful lot of Mountain Dew in Iowa. And he said, what this triggered then was the understanding that there are several, or actually just a handful of states that still offer incentives for turning in bottles. So, you know, it used to be that when you would take a bottle back, you'd get 5 cents or something. And I was talking to my dad about this, and he remembered in times past taking those bottles back, getting some change and buying penny candies or bubble gum, you know, with the change. So what this did, though, was show and enforce the fact that if we incentivize recycling, it will help us acquire a cleaner end product through the facility. And so as a nonprofit organization, we've developed an incentive plan for recycled goods. So what that means is that for residents or for commercial businesses who recycle and either bring their recycled materials to our facility or allow us curbside collection of their materials, we will pay an incentive, a portion of money until they reach a monetary goal. So let's say it's an arbitrary $25 goal. We have developed, or actually we are developing app technology right now that will help them track how close to gaining their incentive they are. So if you picture coming into the facility is going to be extremely clean. We believe this is very important so that it separates the idea that recyclable materials are waste or trash. And so with this, when you walk into the entrance of the facility, there will be a conveyor system. And if you can picture almost like the conveyor belt at an airport that distributes the luggage, your luggage comes in and kind of cycles around. We'll have smart bins on that conveyor system then, that when you put your materials into the smart bin, either for paper or for glass or for mixed materials, it will, and you'll have a Q code on your phone. There will be smart sensors that say at a certain levels, thank you, you've just earned $1 towards your $25 goal. The other thing that we realized is that when people have the ability to visually see how close to accomplishing their goal they are, it kind of helps keep them on track for accomplishing that goal. So one of the things that we did with, or that we are doing and working on with our app technology, is creating a tracking system that will show an image on their phone that will help register how much they've earned towards completing their goal. This idea actually was kind of created and come up with from my nephew, Robert. He's 8. When I went into town to help, my sister had another child. When I went into town to help with Robert's little brother and Amy, I was doing homework with Robert. And Robert did not want to read his book for school that day, but they had sent home a Renaissance Reader program where they wanted us to log onto the computer, and after he was done reading the book, answer a couple of questions. And once he answered those questions, a little image popped up of a flower. And this image, for all the questions that he got right in reading this book, this flower would fill up with color. So when I showed Robert this, he ran out of the room, and I thought, Robert, where did you go? And so he comes back and he's got an armful of books. I mean, he must have had 20 plus books. And what this, because he wanted to read more and more and more books because he wanted to see what color that flower would be. And so that tied in with, if people, that really kind of showed us too, that if people can see visually how close to attaining their goal they are, it helps them, kind of motivates them to keep coming back. So it helps with our goal of increasing the quantity of recycled materials that we're pulling out of our waste stream currently. So the app on the phone will show, and it might not be a flower, but it will be able to show every time they either we have a curbside collection or and we come and pick it up at their house or their business, or they bring it to the facility, will show them how close to their goal they are of receiving their incentive. So we're pretty excited about this. We've spoken with several people in the recycling industry, and we believe that this could be a help to our citizens and our businesses, but also a way of really kind of taking another look at recycling. One of the things that we're saying too is that, you know, when you buy a bottle of water and you drink that water, you still own that bottle, and that bottle has value. So sharing the profits that will be made from the sale of these materials with our community members can really kind of set a different standard in the recycling industry. And no longer is it just relying on people and their, you know, goodness of character or their belief that it's like recycling is a good and worthy cause, but it's actually helping out a little bit as well. So this is a picture, it's a conceptual drawing. It's one of the conceptual drawings that was provided to us by Machine X. They're a large company that completes all of the equipment, design and build for the inside of a recycling facility. Our building will be a little bit different in terms that in that we will have office space, conference space, and also an inside area where people can come into the facility, and this would be the smart bins located on the conveyor system then that would register the materials that they're dropping off. And just as an aside, we'd like to have a community shared conference room space made available for everybody as well. That's one of the things that we kind of feel like we've needed in our community for a little while, is just a free space where people can come and have conference meetings with their different organizations. So in order to accomplish this project, we have a budget of right around $14 million. So it's a large budget, and that is the complete budget for accomplishing both phases of this: the establishment of the eco park, getting the sites shovel ready for businesses to locate there, having paved and unpaved walking paths and hiking paths, playground equipment for kids with different play areas, conservation and nature preserve areas, and also implementing and including the green energy technologies for the businesses to locate there. So it's a large budget, and because of that, we are asking our community, our goal is to raise $2 million from our community and Morgan County towards that $14 million budget of completing this project. And to that end, we've created donor levels that we would really like to ask everyone in our community to consider supporting this project. And at various levels, different incentives are offered for those amounts. The other part is with donations. So that, I guess, just to remind everybody, we are a 501c3 nonprofit. So any donations that we receive are tax deductible. So everybody who would make a donation would receive a thank you letter and a thank you on our website. And we'd also like to put them on our Facebook page as well. And then the levels, as the levels go up, we'd really like the individuals and companies and residents to have credit for helping to bring this project to fruition. So we will have plaques inside the recycling facility and also at the main entrance of the park that will give thanks for their contributions. And I guess at this juncture too, I would like to make just a general statement. We know that $2 million for our community, this is quite a large ask for our citizens, for our businesses to consider. And we don't want to in any way jeopardize any planned giving for any of the other very worthy nonprofit organizations operating in our county. So for example, if there's planned giving to the Humane Society or to the Morgan County Boys and Girls Club or any of the other extremely good programs that we have here, we don't want to in any way take away from any planned giving that anybody has right now with those organizations. So we want to make that caveat. And we also want to say that we would definitely be willing to work with anybody who would like to give to this project, but is also a planned giver of any of the other nonprofits here in the county, that we would certainly work with you to get to the level that you want to be without jeopardizing a gift to any one of the other organizations. One of the other really nice ways to give is in memory of a loved one. So I actually had a friend call and ask. She had lost her daughter, and she had asked if we thought it would be okay if in this park she planted a tree in memory of her daughter. And she said, and she actually had a really good idea about utilizing this as a potential fundraiser also to help us get this project off the ground and keep the positive momentum moving forward. And so one of the things that we thought and brainstormed with her about was creating and naming the main entrance and the main road Memory Lane. so that the paved walking paths would start at the entrance and would have trees, native trees, flowering trees lining the entire drive through the eco park, and also have a stone plaque with the individual's name, or a stone monument with the individual's name in front of each individual tree, as well as a solar powered spotlight that would always shine light on the tree and the stone for the person, with the paved walking path that goes right by. So it's kind of a nice thing to do, a nice memory of individuals. So one of the things that we did was created a lower donation amount starting at $2,500 that people could give in honor and memory of their loved ones. And that idea, we've really liked that idea. That's been a really nice thing that we feel like we can incorporate into the park. And then there's another portion, another component to this project as well. We are a nonprofit organization, and so we are able to receive donations towards accomplishing this goal and this project. But we also recognize that the land that we are purchasing is within the opportunity zone. And with that comes the ability to have investor financing as well. So with every opportunity zone established across the country, not just the 156 across the state of Indiana, but across the country, there are opportunity zone funds and qualified opportunity zone funds that allow investors to put money into a qualified opportunity zone fund, and the incentives that the investor gets for putting money into these funds are, there's actually multiple incentives. One of the ways that they can do it is if they are receiving or have to pay any capital gains tax, they're able to put that portion into a qualified opportunity zone fund, and if left in for a minimum of 5 years, it reduces their qualified or their capital gains tax by 10%. If left in for 10 years, any accumulation of interest that's earned is tax-free. So we have worked in partnership with Edward Jones and our partners at Barnes and Thornburg to create an opportunity zone fund in which the money that investors put can be used towards the creation and implementation of this project, and they will receive, in conjunction with Growing Green, who would manage the fund in conjunction with Edward Jones, who will be managing Growing Green's fund, they will receive the following interest rates cumulatively and annually for the money that they contribute. For this, we've created, we've set a $10,000 minimum investment, and we've capped this at $2.5 million. So once we reach that $2.5 million, we won't be able to accept any further investments. And anybody that's interested in investing in this fund, there's contact information that's provided for myself and for the Edward Jones agent, and also for KeyBank, who's accepting donations for us as well at the end of this presentation. This is a really good way, especially with the market being down. This is a very good way to invest in the community and to invest in this project and into areas and projects within the qualified opportunity zone. We've set these rates to be competitive based on rates that are set for CDs, or that were in place for CDs before we kind of had the market downturn. And we have had a lot of interest with investors in investing in this. So we do just need to remind everybody, there is a $2.5 million cap on this. So once we hit that cap, we cannot accept any further funds, but it's a nice way. It's also another way to seek funding for this project. We have identified several federal and state grant opportunities that are rather large that we'll be utilizing towards helping accomplish the $14 million goal for this project budget, as well as some other local, state, and federal loan and grant opportunities that are available. So we really have opened up multiple financial avenues for support to help with this project. And this is just a quick, so there's a $10,000 minimum investment for this. Again, we can provide further information upon request. We have an introduction to the project and the benefits and risks of investing in this Opportunity Zone Fund spelled out in this packet of information that we have. And so this is just a sample on the screen right now of a minimum of $10,000 investment, what it would earn over the course of 10 years if left in the fund. This is the contact information for myself at Growing Green, for KeyBank if there are any interested donors, for either the donor level or the donation in memory. And then the Edward Jones, we're working with Josh Collier out of Martinsville as our Edward Jones agent for the management of Growing Green's Opportunity Zone Fund. And guys, I thought that this was going to take an hour, but I guess my adrenaline really got me through in a half hour. So if there are any questions or any comments or any suggestions, I'm happy to field those.
Stephanie?
Yes.
So you may have mentioned this, but if you did, I missed it. Is there a specific date timeline to do like the first phase?
So we would like to have the first phase completed within a year. And the first phase completed means having shovel-ready sites for businesses to locate within the park. And then another 6 months on top of that to have an operational recycling facility. Good question, Cindy. Sorry, I didn't put that in there. You're absolutely right. That's a great question.
No, that's okay. And I know you mentioned walking trails and things as well. Is that correct?
Yes.
And those would be further down the road, or
no? That will be with the implementation of the shovel-ready sites. We'll have the walking and hiking paths available.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And
we're really excited. Yeah. Oh, I mean, this has been tremendously exciting, and everybody that we talk to has something different they would like to see. One of the individuals we spoke to said that they would really like to see soccer fields. They said there aren't any soccer field availabilities for younger kids. They said the older kids can use the really great fields that the high school has, but there really isn't a location for younger kids for soccer, and so they'd really like to see soccer fields. We had an individual say that they would like to see a Frisbee golf course in forested areas. There's going to be about 50 acres of forest that will be maintained as natural, and so they'd like to see Frisbee golf as one of the things. There will be roundabouts with Tesla charging stations in the roundabouts, so we're really excited to partner with Tesla on that. It just seems the memory lane that tugs at my heart. I love the idea of the memory lane and providing the trees and the stone monuments for the individuals. I just think that was such a brilliant and kind idea. So I really love that. And the idea that we would be able to draw businesses to our area. We're anticipating a job creation of between 800 to 1,000 jobs. With this new jobs for our area. And so we see this as a tremendous impact for Morgan County and for Martinsville. Not only the amount of waste that we'll be able to pull out of the current waste stream that we're paying to go to other landfills right now, but also the job creation. So the other thing we'd like to do with the recycling facility is mirror our hiring after our Packmore's hiring. So with second chances for incarcerated citizens, people who need another chance. and need a job and good health benefits coming out where they can feel proud of being a contributing citizen. So Packmore, I think, has an absolutely wonderful format and blueprint for that, and we'd really like to get a hold of Packmore and develop a relationship and partnership so we understand how they did that, so we can do the same thing at the recycling facility. I guess the other thing I would say is that we've named it the Recycling Facility because we want to keep the ideas of clean recycling moving forward. So we've coupled those two words, clean recycling, into recycling, the Recycling Facility, which I love.
Yes, yes. And you touched on, things for kids as well. And I think back to when I grew up in the 60s and 70s, and we had so much for children in our community and in Martinsville in particular. And now it seems like we have very little for them to do. I mean, we had a skating rink, we had a movie theater, we had just different things to do. Now we don't have tennis courts. I mean, things we had at the park, we had a softball diamond, we had tennis courts, we had different things, we had a volleyball court. We don't have any of those anymore. So anything that could be added for not just children, but adults as well. There's a nice little trail a walking trail at the park, but there's no shade or anything. So when it's extremely hot in the summers, I don't take my mother to walk there. She can't stand the heat. So it would be nice to have some trails with, some shade or some trees or something like that to kind of cut the heat too, if that's something that there's room to do. So
that's a great idea, Cindy. Yeah, that's a great idea. Absolutely. The Soil and Water Conservation, we gave a presentation to the Soil and Water Conservation Board as well. And they had some really great ideas for the use of the land as well. And one of the things that they had mentioned was keeping the entrance wetland area, the nature and wetland area. And then the architects that we've been working with have had great ideas about pervious or impervious building materials for roads that help with drainage in that area. And then Jamie, you had mentioned a lady that you work with had a really great idea about making sure that it's handicap accessible, that we have picnic areas. And the other idea that the Soil and Water Conservation folks had was that to have a shelter area that has maybe a drop-down screen that they can use to take kids on nature walks, and they can use the drop-down screen to show images of frogs and trees and flowers that they can find while they're on their nature walk. So an educational tool for kids that they can start doing and partnering to coordinate with Growing Green these nature walks. So it really has, it really has a nice impact for potentially everybody in our community.
And another thing, I have a building materials background, so being a nature park and things like this, and green facility, if you will, for a lot of the parks, national parks, state parks now are using composite products for like their decking for their walking areas, or composite products for their signs, so that you don't have to replace those over and over and over. So and a lot of them are recycled products too. So.
Right. I was going to say those recycled composite products are, very good. I will tell you too, Cindy, one of the things that we've done in the back end work for establishing the recycling facility is to reach out to businesses. So we've been working with Eureka Recycling out of Minneapolis, Minnesota. They're a lot larger than we are. However, they started at the size that we are, so they were able to verify some of our financial projections and really help us kind of on the groundwork of what kinds and types of and quantities and types of materials we would be receiving. And one of the things that they said was the help that they received from businesses that they had reached out to purchase the materials. And so one of the things that we've been doing with the recycling facility is reaching out to companies and asking them who would purchase the recycled plastic or the recycled cans or the recycled paper or glass, if they would help in this project, and asking them if they have any interest in locating one of their facilities in this park. And we had one of the largest plastic manufacturers in North America out of Kentucky. They manufacture plastic pipe. And they said, yes, let us know when your sites are shovel ready. And so one of the things that could help us do is create a closed loop system of recycling where we're not shipping our plastic 1,000 miles away, but we're shipping it, next door for reprocessing, which cuts down on freight costs for plastic manufacturing or recycling, reprocessing of these materials. So creating that closed loop system, it not only helps bring companies here and businesses here, which creates jobs, but also helps us with the recycling facility not